Hey there, physical science students. This is Ms. Ruark. This is chapters 5 and 6, 6 and 7, where we're going to be talking about compounds and different types of compounds, how to write their formulas, how to name them, and then getting into chemical reactions. Alright, so just a quick recap. Let's talk about the number of atoms that are in a compound. So just we'll go through this real quick. Remember, in this compound here, we have 2 atoms. We have potassium, which is a big letter, and then Br, which is a big letter and a small letter. So there'd be 2 atoms in this compound. All right. In Ca3P2, there are 3 Cas and 2 Ps, which gives us a total of 5 atoms. In H2CO3, there's 1 C, 2 H's, and 3 O's, which gives us a total of 6. In H42S, there's going to be 2 nitrogens. There's going to be 8 hydrogens. And there's 1 sulfur, which gives us 11. And AlNO3, 3. We have 1 aluminum. We have 3 nitrogens and 9 oxygens here, and that gives us a total of 13. And then for our last one, we have 1 calcium, we have 2 carbons, 4 carbons, 6 hydrogens, because we multiply, we don't add, and 4 oxygens, which gives us a total of 15 atoms. Okay, just to review. Alright, well, there are different types of compounds that we will be looking at, especially when we get into naming the compounds. So the 3 types that you could have would be an ionic compound, a covalent compound, and an acidic compound. How do you tell the difference between the 3? Well, you tell the difference with what it starts with. So an ionic compound will always start with a metal listed first. A metal listed first. Okay, it's pretty simple, right? How do we know the metals from the nonmetals? Well, remember, our little staircase line separates our metals from our nonmetals. So everything on the left is going to be a metal, and everything on the right is going to be a nonmetal. So if it has anything that's on the left, it's a metal. Don't include hydrogen, because hydrogen's weird. It's a gas. It's not a metal. Not a metal. It just happens to hang out with the nonmetals, or with the metals. Okay? And if it's a covalent compound, it will start with a nonmetal. And if it's an acidic compound, it's actually going to start with a hydrogen. Okay, so that's how you can keep them straight, is by telling what they start with. All right, well, just so that we can go through a couple compound properties so that you're clear on what the different properties for different compounds are. For an ionic compound, these compounds are going to have high melting points and high boiling points. They have a very hard crystalline structure. They are great insulators. Poor insulators. Looking at that thing, that's not right. Depending on what they are. If it is a, alright, they conduct electricity when it's dissolved in water, and they do not conduct electricity as solids. So in order to get it to conduct electricity, you have to change it or dissolve it in water. Alright, so covalent compounds, these are soft. They tend to be gases or liquids. They are poor conductors of electricity and heat, which means that these are the insulators, these are the conductors, and when they're dissolved in water, they are considered non-electrolytes, which means they don't conduct electricity in water. Okay? I believe we're going to spend a whole section on acids and bases, so I'm not going to really get into properties of acids. Just know that an acid starts with hydrogen, which means that in the formula, it has a hydrogen listed first. In this one, in the formula, let's see, carbon monoxide, it has a non-metal listed first, and in the ionic, for let's say sodium chloride, it has a metal listed first, and we know by its placement on the periodic table. Alright, so what type of compound is the following? Alright, so the first element is K. K is on the metal side, so this must be an ionic compound. This first element is Xe. Xe is a non-metal, so it has to be a covalent compound. The next one has H listed first. Has to be an acid. Okay, we're going to come back to this one in just a second. The next one has Al listed first. Al is a metal, so it's an ionic compound. And then this last one here has carbon listed first, which is a nonmetal, so it's a covalent compound. This one here, even though it starts with a nonmetal first, and we'll talk about this soon, but this first part that's in parentheses is a polyatomic ion, which means that this is going to be an ionic compound. And I'll explain that more as we get through the chapter. And I think that's it. It sure is, so I will see you in class.